Good evening, all. Welcome along to the LWB Club Football Pod finale. Hard to believe we're at the end of our header already. We're not quite at the end of the championship. One of the county finals has gone to a replay. Leighlinbridge and Clonmore playing out a very exciting 7 points apiece draw, not by scores, but exciting in terms of the finish. So they're going to have a replay next Saturday at 6 o'clock in Netwatch Cullen Park in that Junior A final. Junior C final is going to be on before the 4 o'clock on Saturday. That's going to be Clonmore up against the Blues. So, that could be an interesting evening for Clonmore. Hopefully not from a Leighlinbridge point of view. I'll put the colours of the mast here from the get-go. But we're going to be covering a lot of ground over the next hour. Could go to an hour and a half tonight, just the nature of it. We'll go through the 4 county finals. We have a team of the year to announce. We have a player of the year to announce. We also have Camogie Finals to go through as well. So a nice little bit to get through. In about 10 minutes' time, Brian O'Donoghue, Stephen Bambrick and Joe Nolan are going to join me. But a little bit earlier, we caught up with Pat O'Flynn and Cormac Snackbox Holloway. Long last, we got our snack box for this series. Snackbox got his county medal. Pato got a county medal, and everyone is happy and all is right with the world out there, Pato. You must be delighted, yeah? It
is. I suppose the first thing we should say is Cormac Holloway, or Snackbox as you like to call him, is the only man in Palatine with 4 county medals. He's the only survivor from 06, so we always knew he was a legend in Palatine. He is now a confirmed legend in Palatine, so he is. So,
never played a game at 4, brilliant. No one will beat that. Could have played this the way Carney played. We were thinking of bringing me in yesterday, Dawson. Jesus, talk about a shocker.
You don't mind too much today, though, all the same.
No, and we wouldn't have won anything without him, so no, all good.
All good.
Yeah.
I suppose, Gav, it's some achievement for a team that everyone wrote off. I actually think everyone was actually a little bit disrespectful towards the players, and for the last number of weeks, I've never known a team that beats the county champions by 13 points and then beat them in a county semi-final and to be largely wrote off for a county final. The lads about respect, I've never come across it, for a team that worked so hard all year, for a team that was trying so much, and for a team that's full of such talent, yesterday we went out in the front foot and we were just doing our best to try and win the match, and I have to say, to the players, they were full of honour, they were full of dignity, and and that's the thing about PAL is such a club about the GAA and about giving their all. Most of that team that played yesterday, Kev, actually trained the local or the underage teams in the club. They're heavily involved. Shane O'Neill's involved with Carlo 20s, it was brilliant yesterday to win that match, and I couldn't get over the crowd yesterday. I know you had said to me earlier on the week off air before we did the interview that there was a motor of a crowd expected on that yesterday, but I said, there was nobody left in Palatine yesterday. Anyone who wanted to rob a few houses yesterday in Palatine probably could, because there were such numbers in Netwatch Cullen Park yesterday. Yeah, there really was. In fairness, it was a cracking atmosphere, and lads, to be fair to Palatine, you went about your business in some style. You went in 7 points up, took the opportunities that were presented to you, and I suppose. I don't want to sound disrespectful to Tinryland, but in fairness, calling it fairly straight, and we always do here on the podcast, right? They did get a little bit of luck in getting a bit closer to PAL. The first goal in particular was probably at the soft-dish variety. The second one, a ball in around the house. And at one stage, it did look like they were going to sneak a draw out of it. At that particular point, Snack, you must have been fairly nervous on the line, I'd imagine.
My head was gone anyway, sure. I think everyone's head is going in them situations, Kev. You'd be a liar if you didn't say it. It didn't. I went into the dressing room after the speeches. I just got over there, and Carney was the next man in, and a bit of crack with Carney. I just said to him, "Why did you play like me today?" With a bit of a laugh, in fairness. But just glad to get over the line. Another 5 minutes, we were on the rocks. We were on the ropes, weren't we? But no, we got over the Crowley. The last play of the game, Crowley, he was tired, he was gone. Still bet his man drew a free game over. Fair play to him. He was brilliant yesterday. And
in fairness, in the lead up to that, Pato, you kept the ball for a long period as well. I think I'm trying to recall the exact phase of play, but I know Jonah Dunn was on the attack for Tinryland, and you guys got a few men in around him and turned them over. But there was definitely a period, I would say, and I must go back and check, of about 60 seconds where Padel just kept the ball, which is exactly what you needed to do in that moment. So you must have been very pleased with that element of composure, I suppose.
Yeah, well, like in fairness, I think the man that's not here yet, Billy Murphy or Killian Roach, deserve huge credit for that. Like Billy all year would have been on about tag the man. Like, and you know, the guys, we've been through that scenario so often in training, and like Killian Roach, I don't really want to praise him because I'm afraid someone's going to go take him off us, because the man's an absolute genius. He's only 25, 26 years of age. Himself and Billy, when they get together, they're just awesome. And like, you have the experience then of Noel Byrne and Pod. Like, I don't like, you know, I was actually talking to my old lad in the nursing home on Friday evening, and or before I went up to the pal lads, and you know, he just said to me, "What's the story with the management team?" Because he never would have met the lads because he's in the nursing home, and I was just like, "Geez, they're fellas you will meet up for the rest of your lives, regardless of what happens on Sunday, because they just love their club so much." And like, you just don't, like, things like that comes out the day of a match, because you know, like that scenario in the last 60 seconds that you were on about, Kevin, that has been rehearsed all the time since February. Hold the ball for 60 seconds. Hold the ball for 60 seconds. Hold the ball for 60 seconds. And, you know, so like, as you can hear in the background, Kevin, it's getting fairly boisterous here, so it is.
Yeah. I don't know that anyone go to bed at all last night out there. He's back on it early.
Well, Mrs. Holloway, or Cormac's mother, put us on a great fright this morning anyway.
Good stuff. Fuel for day 2 as you. I might go into day 3 and day 4 as well. Jesus, singing at this hour is a great sign of a party, lads, in fairness. That's what you want. Paolo, can I just ask from your point of view, like, you've been involved with a lot of teams. Where does this rank in terms of achievements?
Well, geez, it's like, since I could live or breathe GAA, Kevin, the one thing I always wanted to do was win a senior county final in the red and green. I always dreamt it would be St Martin's, but yesterday, regardless of the result, I got to live a dream in the sense of a team so committed, so united with each other. To win a county final is just exceptional against all the odds. Like, it's, you know, people are tipping us for relegation at the start of the year, and I just couldn't understand it either. I think Snack and Billy said to me a couple of times during the year I was half mad, because back in March they said we'd win a county final, and Cormac is off the screen there now, but he thought I'd been let loose from Canis's. It's unreal. It's to be honest with you, it's something you'll take to the grave. And probably in the last 12 hours, it's only sinking in since we got to Palatine Clubhouse last night, how much it actually means to everyone in the club. Like, it's just, you know, I actually showed Cormac this morning and his mother. I've actually marked some of his shoulder bruises from the slaps in the back, and it's just phenomenal. So it is. It's probably, bar getting married or having a child, Kevin, I would say it's probably the greatest thing that I'll ever do, and I just want to enjoy the moment. And you're with friends for life as well, with Snack, Billy, and Killian, and Pod, and all, and it's unreal. Like, it's unreal in the sense that I knew we could do it, but it's unreal in the sense that what it means to everyone else, if you know what I mean.
I think the gas thing is the fact that all those bruises are up on your shoulder. They could easily have been across your 2 arse cheeks if you had lost the game. You know the way football works.
It did. I'll be honest with you. When Jason Kane broke with that ball in injury time, I think it was the 6th or 7th minute, and like, you know, Johnny Murphy was reffing the game yesterday. And I have to say, Johnny is probably one of the best referees in the country. Like, when he said 5 minutes. And in fairness, our physio was out for an injury. Maura Murphy came back in and said there's actually 6 minutes left, as in that was at 61, if you know what I mean. And you know, there was another 6 minutes to play. But when Jason broke with that ball and the clock was hitting 66:43, and I knew what Jason was going to do. It was going to be a ball direct to Crowley. he was coming out, and Jason, as he was going up the line, there was actually a smile on his face because he knew he was looking up to the clock, hitting that ball. Crowley was going to go win the ball, and at that stage, I'll be honest with you, Kevin, it did go through my head. I was kind of like, I've gone from possibly getting a few boxes to the jaw here for losing this to winning the county final, if you know what I mean, because it did in those, when Paul Roderick steps up to take a free in a county final, you kind of expect him to land it, and he didn't. But in fairness to our guys, they were already setting up for a breakaway attack, and it's brilliant, to be quite honest with you. So I agree with you. It could have been a few belts across the arse, or a few belts to the jaw either, so it could have been Kevin.
Yeah, lads, look, I know there's big celebrations underway already. We want to let you get back to them, right? But just lastly, you touched upon a Paddo going to see a relative in a nursing home last week, and we saw, Eddie McGarry going to a grave. We saw Jason Kane going to a grave, and I think that's his third medal on his dad's third anniversary. Like, what it actually does for people and what it means to people outside of the actual game of football itself, it can never be, I suppose, overstated or underestimated. It's just a remarkable thing.
Well, I'll finish on this, Kev. Palatine means everything to those guys because they put everything into it, and they love their club. They love the people in the club. They love their neighbours. They have pride in what they do. They have honour and integrity in what they do. And football is a game that's played with the heart. It's played with skill. It's played with passion. And at the end of the day, stats analysis don't win your county finals. It's pure heart. And when you mentioned Jason Kane there and you mentioned Eddie McGarry, there's something inside those pal lads so strong.
Something inside so strong.
So
I know that I can make it.
Well, better way to wrap up the segment, Paddo, in fairness.
By the way, it's not over yet. We have a Leinster Championship to look forward to as well.
Absolutely. Paddo Flynn, the very best luck in that. Well done again, and thanks for having a chat with us here. Enjoy the celebrations, Paddo.
Thanks very much, Kev.
There you go, Paddo Flynn and Cormac Snackbox Holloway. Nice bit of singing from Snack as well. We're going to bring in Brian O'Donoghue, Stephen Barmerick, Joe Nolan. Evening, gents. How are you?
Morning.
All right, Kev.
Morning. Good evening.
Morning.
It could be morning for some people in Palatine at the moment, I would say. Yeah.
And Fenagh.
Yep, I'm in the WhatsApp group. Yep, it's Party Central.
Yeah.
I think they joined forces, by the way, today as well, Pal and Fenagh.
I was just going to say that. I think I saw something on social media that they'd made their way over to Pal Clubhouse.
Yep.
Good stuff. Nice to see that. I'm sure maybe Blanchfields could be busy enough down south as well. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to delve straight into this. I've been reliably informed, but promise not to say names, that there was a stag party on involving some players that play with St Mullins, right? And I think it was in around Limerick area or something like that. A bus went from the stag yesterday morning in Limerick straight to Netwatch Cullen Park. Can you believe it? And they still went and won that final against Asca 2-11, 2-7. Brian, you were actually with me on that for commentary duties and Mick Yo. It was actually a really good game of football, and that is some story.
It was, and I can well believe it because there was some chap from St Mullins was rooting in the boot of his car at 1:30, 25-2, looking for a pair of boots, and match thrown in at 2 o'clock. Like, so, I well believe it.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to start with the Junior B because let's change it up a little bit on the showpiece show, I suppose. The showcase showdown. What was that in? Bruce Price Right or something? And yeah. Like, I thought it was a really, really enjoyable game of football. You had St Mullins full of physicality, full of fitness. Asca full of football, and at times maybe just ran out of steam a little bit in the end. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I would have said St Mullins had a little bit of cuteness. Obviously, like they've played in, a lot of them players played in senior hurling finals, and while it's a different ball game, it's the pressure of a final didn't seem to end them at all, and they seemed to be very, especially when they went ahead in the second half, they were very good at managing time and managing kind of game situations and different little challenges that popped their way. Credit to Asca, like there's some fine footballers, and like Conor O'Brien did his living best to kind of get them back into it in the second half. But I'd say cuteness, bit of fitness, and in fairness, like looking at the physique of the likes of Mouse and James Dylan and what a centre back. What was his name?
Paddy O'Shea.
What a name. Like they're tanks. It was great. Really enjoyable game of football. Like there was no cynicism in it. It was just really pure football and really enjoyable, and savage weather as well, which always helps,
Absolutely, yeah. Jeez, it was like it was like a sauna inside in that press box. Look, some big moments. Obviously, Seamus Murphy finishes up with 2 goals. One coming from the penalty spot. He was a constant threat. James Doyle knocked over a couple of trademark frees off the ground, which we've become accustomed to seeing in county football finals over the past couple of years. Some of Asca's play, like some of the scores they got in the first half in particular, were phenomenal. 5 or 6 starting forward scoring. Ben Durley 1-1. A couple of points for Jamie Durley. Jimmy Phelan scored. Dylan Rush got 1-2. Like Conor O'Brien, I think we said it on the commentary. I can't remember who we got unofficial man of the match in the end. But Conor O'Brien was definitely in the mix. Like he covered serious ground. In fairness to him, I thought he put on a really good display. Another little point, Brian, yesterday. I know we were saying there was a team of the weekend that John Dwyer was destined to play in a county final yesterday. As was Val Fleming the day before, maybe Páirc Fleming, regardless, because Fenagh, Leighlinbridge, Tinryland, and Asca. Brian Jackson was another one, of course. Sure, Brian, I think, is Keith's brother. So it's just interesting the parallels to be drawn on that. So what we might do is we might move backwards, kind of to the senior final then. And we've just heard from Pato and from Snack, and I'll bring in on this show because we got a very enjoyable finish to that particular piece, but it was a very important point, I think, that we actually got there in terms of what it means to people. And I suppose, the Jason Kane story, that's just phenomenal. On the day of his dad's 3rd anniversary, he wins his 3rd senior county medal. That's just amazing. And he's actually captained Pal, I think, for all those 3 as well. And back-to-back senior captain and back-to-back minor captain. That's serious going, fairness to him.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, Kevin, and I suppose he is a leader. He shows up every time, leaves everything out on the pitch. But you're right there in terms of occasions like that, and it was a nice, these victories and losses, and they're about communities, they're about people in the community, people in your clubs, and I think sometimes we kind of sometimes forget that the impact that the GAA has on all of us in terms of and the impact that it has, Tinryland are hurting there tonight or whatever, but still they did their parish proud. They represented a lot of families, and look, there's moments like that, and sometimes it's not just the winners. The winners are doing it. You know what I mean? That all those who take part in every aspect of it, it does mean so much to the community. And your GAA club, I always say, your GAA club is there through thick and thin. It's about more than what happens on the pitch. It's actually probably sometimes what happens on the pitch. I think when you get older, sometimes what happens on the pitch is, I won't say of the least importance, but it actually takes a back seat because the strength you can draw on it. We see probably every one of us, if we look around here, the clubs that we represent have been through, their communities have been through very hard times with tragedies and things going on, and your club is at the backbone of when you go to look for the support. So it was a nice moment for Jason, in fairness to him, and all those connected.
Moving to the game itself then, lads. So Joe, you'll be delighted with this. After our little argument last week, I said Tinryland wouldn't be any more than 6 up or 6 down at half time, and I went in 7 down, of course.
It played out exactly the way I said it. I listened back to the podcast. It's exactly the way we predicted it last week.
Yeah, it's mad. I suppose when you look at the jigs and reels of it, Tinryland hold possession at the very start for a couple of minutes. Maurice Lawler gets him a point. Shane O'Neill says, "You know what? I couldn't give a shit about your blanket or your duvet or your mattress. I'm going to kick the ball over it." And he must have been 50 yards outside of the left boot. Sublime score. Literally from that kick out then, Cottle Gaffney tries to pick out Conor O'Toole. Probably doesn't attack the ball. And Shane gets a hand on it, I think, initially. It breaks inside. Jamie Kenny has a lot of work to do, in fairness. And then he slots it away in the bottom corner. That gives Pal a big boost. But Tinryland don't go hiding at this point, in fairness. Tinryland come back into it. Dermot Walsh kicks a couple of nice scores. And then another hammer blow, I suppose, coming towards half time with Pal, with Joshua Egan in around the goal mouth, getting a bit of contact, goes to ground. And, initially I was like, Jesus, I wonder what's that penalty? Well, I got to look at it today. It was a penalty, plain and simple. Tom Sheen took it away. 2-4 Palatine, 3 points to Tinryland at half time, and a big mountain to climb. And we wondered about this. Like, we wondered about, what happens when Pal moved the ball quickly. And they did move the ball quickly and lead up to that penalty in particular. And they did kick the ball out over the blanket, like what we were saying last week. And Tinryland at this point obviously are chasing the game. They make a couple of changes at halftime. John Murphy comes in. Cian Lawler comes in. John Murphy in particular, I thought, made a big difference. Out of all the subs, Cormac O'Brien maybe, to an extent as well, when he came on, he scored a point. And then 2 minutes into the second half, Paul Broderick came in. Now, the lads might have a bit of a theory on this, that perhaps that was just held off to get the lift from the crowd. I don't know. John Stevie might think that's a great idea. I don't know if they're going to put it on record as that, but I understand it to an extent. Maybe it's unfair on someone at halftime. Have they been told they're coming off 2 minutes in the second half or not? I don't know. But the idea behind it, I would say, is that Broderick comes in after 2 or 3 minutes in the second half, big lift from the crowd, and try to turn the game a little bit. Any thoughts on that, actually, lads? Now that I've put it out there.
I don't know if it would be. I don't know if any club would make a sub to get the crowd on side as such, but when you're someone like Broderick, you definitely bring him on to make your opposition, like, he has to be marked. He just simply has to be marked. So,
but 2 minutes into the second half, Brian, it's so close to half time. Like, how much can you do in 2 minutes?
But there were 7 points down, weren't they?
Yeah, but why not make it half time then?
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay, I get you. Yeah, okay, I get your point. Yeah,
I'm bringing it back to Paul coming in 2 minutes into the second half. The lads have said, why not do it at half time? My point, my rationale behind it is that they probably, I'm just suggesting they might have did it to get the lift from the crowd.
I can see why they done it, but it's we're wondering last week, like, if they don't, like, we're talking about the 3 subs that were on Perry last week: Paul Broderick, John Murphy, and Cian Lawler. Between them, big impact. You're 7 points down at half time. That's the balancing. Stephen Amar said during the week, like, it was great to have Paul Broderick down at all. I was surprised one of the other 2 boys didn't start, and then, I can see, and Kevin, you said it in the WhatsApp last night, you can see why they done it, and like, if it works and they got a draw or they won it grand, and it wasn't the losing the game or anything by 2 minutes, but still 2 minutes, an extra 2 minutes with Paul Broderick in the field might have made a difference. An extra 32 minutes with him on the field might make a difference as well. But you can see why it was done, but just, it's if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But just as, if someone going out after half time, and I can't tell you who's to go off at half time now, but
Conor Ryan and Barry Power.
Yeah, Barry Power, sorry, yeah. Like, there was someone someone new going out after half time, whether it was Hall or not, they're coming off in 2 or 3 minutes. That's the, what happens if you got a goal or two and that, be mad, but sure, it didn't happen.
Could it have been just that he was the need to get him warmed up or something? That did they win at half time and didn't want to bring him in totally cold and had to give him a couple of minutes to get ready? Could that
maybe it's as simple as that, but I suppose that the long and short of it is he didn't have the same effect as he did in the semi-final, from their point of view. So,
you'd imagine if they were that organised, which they seem to be at that level, that lad would be ready. You know what I mean? That if he was going in at halftime, he'd know, and they would have had him warmed and primed down to the last minute.
Mm-hmm. Bringing it back to Pal then, so they push on and go 9 points up. I actually thought it was 8. It was 9, and again, some really good scores. I think Conor Crowley got the man of the match from the press that had a vote on it yesterday. He looked a threat throughout. Kenny looked a threat throughout. Like, Shane O'Neill was absolutely outstanding. He tends to do that in county finals and big games and in All-Ireland schools finals, as we've seen. I suppose at that particular juncture then, Tinryland get a bit of a lifeline, and it is a big stroke of luck, to be honest. I've looked back on it again today. I actually thought Conor O'Toole got a touch to it, but the ball flies in around the house. Conor O'Toole's probably in Craig Carney's eye line, and the ball goes in past Carney into the bottom corner. So all of a sudden we're back to a 6-point game. Skipping on a little bit, Paul Broderick, I think I'd be fairly certain it was an attempt for a point, drops in around the house. Shane Redmond gets a fist to it. Shane Redmond, to his credit, looked at, dangerous enough in around the goal, but that brought it back to a point. There could have been an exchange of scores after that, but it produced a very tense and exciting finale where Tinryland forced Conor All went over carrying down in the corner on the O'Hanlon side. I will say stand side of the O'Hanlon side. And it's a difficult enough free, right, in fairness now, even for a player of Paul Broderick's standard. And the questions afterwards was, Walsh or Broderick take it? And you can see Paul actually asking Dermot, did he want to take it, right? But if you look at it throughout the year, Dermot Walsh is hitting them all year. Paul Broderick's hitting them all his life. So, like, in that moment, it's kind of hard to decide who's going to hit what. It was marginally wide. From an attack thereafter, Tinryland got possession. Jonah Dunn went around the left-hand side of the Pal blanket and eventually got gobbled up. Ball's turned over. Palatine hold on to it for about a minute, I would say. And it gets worked down the far side. And a foul is drawn. Conor Crowley puts it over. Game over. Long and short of it, that's just, I suppose, a story of the game. Palatine put themselves into a position, played very, very good football. You got to give them great credit. They were in control of the game. Tinryland didn't throw in the towel. They came back at them. But all credit here has to go to Palatine, lads. Like, as Pato said there, I have to hold my hand up anyway. I didn't give much of a chance to start of the year. I wouldn't think many people did, to be honest with you. Definitely, though, last week, there was a big chance given to them. I don't know, maybe that's a bit harsh to suggest that they were completely written off during this week. But definitely, I suppose, the stages throughout the year, we mightn't have thought that the Pato were going to be county champions. The Rathvilly game, Pato mentioned it there, winning by 12 or 13 points. And it's not taking that away from them, right? But they had to go and produce that again against the Rathvilly side that were at full tilt. So that particular one, still, while it was an impressive display and impressive result and raising eyebrows, there was still that caveat there. But they really proved their point, I felt, from semi-final onwards, where it mattered the most. And that's, for me, why they're deserving county champions.
Yeah, I know they're definitely, I mean, the ones that have the National Cup, so they're deserving champions. I suppose the performance against O'Loughlin wasn't good, though. Or maybe O'Loughlin were excellent. So it wasn't that, every single game they played, they were at 100 mile an hour. But certainly as the championship went on, they just got stronger and quicker and more accurate. And based on yesterday's performance and based on the semi-final, they are 100% deserving champions. And it's amazing to see like that 2015 minor team. It's amazing how many of those lads were involved in county finals this weekend. Crowley, Shane O'Neill, Keane Fitzpatrick, Tommy Brick, Cahill Gaffney, Niall Lowry.
You must have been a selector with that, Brian, were you?
Conor Doherty. It's just the point. It's amazing how many of them.
I know.
Are now household names in their clubs, like.
I know, yeah. In fairness, just to go back to the whole thing, right? Because Pal do feel a bit hard done by. You can see it on social media today about, like, if you look at it from our point of view, though, right? And this is not Palatine's fault, but start of the year we're told they're in transition. The first game they play a Rangers side who were down half a team. Okay, they play a Rathvilly side who don't have. Was it Brendan and Brian Murphy not playing that day?
Both.
At least, yeah, they're not playing, right?
And Finnegan.
And Finnegan. And then they go and play an O'Loughlin side who are already out of the championship. So, like, I don't think it's that we're being overly disrespectful of them. Just let them go and win those games. And they did. And we give them credit for that. But thereafter, like, if someone was being harsh on them in a semi-final and a final, yeah, well, fair enough. I don't think we were, to be honest with you, personally. But
we still had, like, I said to you in the WhatsApp there last week, that 12 of the starting, the regular starting starting first Aheen had been involved in their last win. What was that, 16? 15 or 16? Right. You were wondering, like, they took two beatings off of Fair Well, not two beatings, one good beating and another one would be 4 or 5 points where they were probably never going to win the game that day. And you'd be wondering, would there be baggage from that? Tinryland coming in, then they've only 2 or 3 lads of county final experience. Like, the early goal definitely settled any nerves Pal were going to have, and they didn't show any nerves in the world of God. Like, what was the white count yesterday? I'm
going to take out the little book of notes here now, and I have Tinryland down for 8 wides. Now, I could be wrong on this. I Pal down for 3. That could have been me.
Pal hit 3 the last test. Like they're clinical.
That I'm putting out a disclaimer now. That probably isn't right.
Yeah, well, like I think that 3 wides against Rathvilly the last time. Rathvilly had roughly 8 or 9 or 10 points wide. Sorry. You're looking at Tinryland yesterday a couple of times. There was shots taken from positions where there was a better position 20 seconds earlier, and these are things come with experience, I suppose, as well. And if one of them goes over, it's when the score, it's when you're that 6-7 points down. It's what you do then. Like it's the game gets away and it's back up, could go to 9 or 10, or you get back to 4 or 5, and you do get the rub of the green from the from the 45 that went the whole way in. And it was. I only got to see the second half live, and I tell you, it was. It was.
But you watched the first half back today, just put out there. So
I did, yeah. Well, I watched it on the way after it, just after the game was over. I got to look at it, and sure, I knew I didn't know who scored the goals or anything like that, but I go back to Shane O'Neill. Shane O'Neill's up 1-1 with Shane Redmond for the goal. Like, it's the way things pan out like that. Showed Pal weren't sitting on their laurels that were waiting, putting Conor Lawler back full back there, just sit back. And one thing I seen Conor Lawler doing yesterday, what I don't normally see him doing, was 2 or 3 kick passes, 30 or 40 yards. And could be game breakers, that takes out 4 or 5 hand passes, things like that, that you normally see him bombing forward, drawing a free. The best man himself and Sean Gannon, they pop the hand, they catch the hand off the opponent free. And he's a little bit issue because I haven't seen him doing it once, I'd say hardly. Next minute, he popped 2 or 3 foot passes. And, they've developed, but to say they're in transition, right, compared to last, look, the horrible year over there last year with the tragedies over there, just, there was, it was, forget last year and that was it. Yeah. But there's plenty of experience there in that team. Just, both I will say, when Paddo was appointed, lads were looking at, it's a hurling man, like, what's he going to do with Paladin football? And he got himself in snack box, like the dolman over there. They might have to engrave the two heads on it, like Mount Rushmore, I think.
But I think, would you believe it? I think, and there's a man we didn't. I know you had the interview with him, but we didn't talk a lot about his influence. Paddo, super organized. I'm not saying anything about any other manager, but super organized. Everything down to a T. He'd say himself he'd know his limitations, but he's a great manager. He knows how to delegate and know the roles and all. Super committed. That brings that huge energy. I said it to him. He has faith in the players as well. The trust. He's not building robots. You know what I mean? It's not you'll work to my system. It's right. What do we have? What do we have? Where are we strong? And we work on that. I think great credit to them. I think their game plan was spot on. Their kick passing game just absolutely, it blew kind of Tinryland away. I think Crowley's first score, if you look at that, I think it was Shane O'Neill hit a 60-yard kick pass, took out everyone, took out the whole lot, and Pal were able to do that. But why were they able to do it? Because obviously their management had faith in them, they trusted them to do it, but they also had, I call it the skill level, the technical ability to do it. And they were taking risks, and they got scores from them. If you don't take risks, you're not going to get scores. And I think that was key. I think it was really key because a lot of teams would say, right, if you turn over, just say if it was a team, Tinryland, in fairness, advanced with a lot of numbers, but when they're turned over, they probably expect teams to carry the ball against them, and they get back onto their own 45. Pal didn't give them a chance at times yesterday. They went straight over that blanket directly. And like we said as well, they got their shooters on. And when they had a shot, I don't hardly remember any Pal lad not turning down a shot, if you get me. If he thought there was one on, maybe 1 or 2 times, they popped it, they went for it. And, I think you have to instill that in your players too. There has to be a trust. There has to be, you have to have that in your players. You have to let them take chances, take risk. And we'd hear things about teams where they're literally nearly told not to shoot or not to take, they're risk averse. And I think that's that's the little differences. Do you know what I mean? If you don't take those chances, if you take on the one-on-ones, you get nothing from it. And I think you have to credit Paddo and his management team for allowing Pal to play to a style that suited him, rather than maybe what's seen as conventional or what's the what maybe where football is going in some ways, So I have to credit him.
Even after the sending off, like to have 14 men and without really altering any of what they were doing, to hang on, and galvanize themselves was just as impressive,
Yeah, I left out that actually. David Reid with, what was it? I can't remember what was gone on the clock. There was definitely 15 minutes they said to go, was there?
Oh, good while, yeah. It was 16, 15 minutes, yeah.
Yeah. And then I suppose, that was a big moment as well when you think about it, that we probably should have mentioned. No, I agree with you. Big credit to Pato. Stuff I didn't like to see in the senior final yesterday. Both sides guilty of it, and it's not just Tinryland and Palatine. We're seeing it in the game the whole time now. It's just a bit of petulance and a bit of jeeriness. It's been in the game a while now, but I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. I don't personally like to see someone jumping up straight away and fist pumping and celebrating when someone's been sent off. I don't like seeing someone going in a mountain in a defender's face after a goal being scored either. I don't like seeing just all this tangling and bullshit, really, to be honest with you. And polar opposite to some of the sportsmanship that we saw across the weekend. Like, just say, for example, in Asca and St Mullins, Niall Davis went down with cramp. And I can't think of what St Mullins lad caught the leg and tried to alleviate the cramp. Same thing happened the day before. Oisin Doyle at Clonmore and Liam Brennan. Liam Brennan went down with cramp, and Oisin Doyle was over there to try help him out.
And even to make that more rounded, Kevin, was, if you remember, that was Clonmore had a line ball. They were a point down coming into injury time when he actually stretched out Liam Brennan.
Yeah.
And it wasn't get up off the ground and dragging him up to get him up into team play. He actually made sure he checked him, and the physio, I think, came in from Leighlin. Do you know what I mean? It was a great act of sportsmanship, in fairness.
And
in that particular game.
Does that come in, lads? Does that come in, lads, in the higher grades more? Then is that kind of telling you that?
That's breaking up on us, Stevie. You're asking, is it coming in the higher grades more?
Yeah, like the fact that what Oisin Doyle and Liam Brennan there the other day would have happened yesterday in the senior or the intermediate.
Look, it's hard to say because you can't speak for every individual. Like, it's individual responsibility at the end of the day, right? But I know, and I'm not going to make any bones about it. Like, a lot of coaches would probably say, let them know about it. Do you know what I mean? And it is a little bit sad that we're going this route. It's not something that's happened today or yesterday. It just seems to be creeping in more and more, and I just don't like it. I think it's a bit disrespectful. I'm no angel myself, but to be honest with you, the thing I used to love when I was playing anyways, if I was playing full back and someone was coming through, I just loved the prospect of hitting a good hard dunk. But it was never like, your mother or any of this shit. Like, I just not into it. Like, if someone starts it, yeah, fair enough, but it just seems like there's more talking than football going on for the 60 minutes. A lot of cases, and pulling and dragging and bollocksing around. To be honest with you,
do you have to make a little bit of an allowance? The fact that it was the local derby yesterday, in particular, all boys went to school together and all, like maybe. I hate as well. And there's a difference between a forward putting the ball over the bar and turning and or if someone's getting a bit of grief and say, oh, look at the scoreboard and all that old fashioned stuff. But how do you stamp it out? Like,
you're not going to, I don't think. But the worry is that it filters down. Like, many kids are there. Like, you know what I mean? It goes down in the underage grades, and then celebrating lads' faces. Like, what happened to give respect, get respect? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it's tiddlywinks either. Like, don't get me wrong, or basketball or anything like that. But it's just anyway. And that's enough time spent on it. I just felt I had to bring that up.
Well, speaking of basketball, like, you do have, there's so much access now to documentaries about, be it Michael Jordan or be it NFL documentaries and like in a lot of those American sports, there's a lot of machoism, and it's about like who's the big dog, and maybe it's an element of the act, like lads are seeing that and
it's more the contact with basketball on us referring to, but the trash talk is definitely something they may have got it from, because that's going on years upon years. Anyway, I'm gonna move on from senior for now, lads, because we're coming back to team of the year and a player of the year. Unless you've anything further to add on the game itself.
Just one little thing. I thought one thing that was different from this game slightly in terms of influence, in terms of Tinryland influence, was because of the threat that Pal had up front in terms of the actual and the style of play. I think it actually pinned back in. Danny Moran.
Danny Moran.
And I think, I know he popped up with a point, and it's not just the score, but he actually offered. He offers a lot of go forward, if you get me, and he didn't get to go forward until really they were really chasing the game and even the man up. And I think his little loss, that kind of trust that he gives to the kind of the forward momentum, and even he's a good kicker of a point as well, as we know. That was a key thing as well, that they couldn't risk, that Tinryland couldn't risk in the first half, or for long periods of time they couldn't risk moving them further up the field because of the threat that Pal had. And it took probably a little bit from Tinryland's game, their overall forward momentum a little bit as well. It's just something I thought, because he had been bombing forward a lot in other games, and it was just noticeable yesterday. He didn't get on that ball in the opposition half as much as he normally would have had.
Mm-hmm. Any other points, lads? Happy enough?
Crack on.
Okay, good stuff. I'm going to move to the intermediate final because we're moving backwards in sequence. So, Fenagh, for me, put on one of the best displays I've ever seen from any team in the county final in seeing off Naomh Eoin. 317 to 111, I think, or something like that in the end. Just outstanding from Fenagh. Now, I have a couple of clips from that county final. I'll bring them up here. I'll turn down the volume because there's two gobshites and commentary that we don't want to listen to because they're already on the screen. Nerdy Joe. But this is a lovely passage of play. It's Pádraig Hines breaking out from defence. And yes, the guy a bit of fortune here, right? But just watch this for a pass. That's Dylan Bradley, I think, inside to Jack Tracy, right? And look at this. He says, no, I don't want the point. There's a goal on here. I'm still going to go for the juggler. Okay, it's not on now. I'll come back out, and now we'll take the point. And Colin Byrne slots it over. And I think at that particular time, that was Fenagh with everyone after scoring from play out or six forwards with a little bit of time left as well. So I'm just going to remove that one. Next sequence of play is a minute and a half long, but it was as good a minute and a half as I've seen. There's two scores, I think, in this one. This is Smithers, I think, coming forward, popping one in to Colin Byrne. He does ever so well to hold this ball, lads. Into Jack Tracy, Dylan Bradley on the back post, calm, compose, around Andy O'Brien. Super move, super goal. And I think the next score is coming just after that. I thought it was coming after that. Maybe it's back in the other one, actually. Yeah, it is. I'll go back to that one. So, just from the kick out, trying to get a big, strong fist onto it. And on comes Michael Murphy to the break. Again, looking up to see is that happening. Patient. Every time there's a play taken, the head is up. No panicking. Sean Smithers in possession again. Back he comes to Colin Byrne. Again, Fenagh patient. Byrne just knocks out to the side. Pádraig Hines up from wing back. Waits for the run. Inside, Bradley says, right, there's no point on here. Back out to Hines. Cormac Lomas comes off the shoulder and slots it nice and neatly over the bar off the left. That, for me, folks, is absolutely outstanding football.
End of story.
They're all so natural on the ball. They're all like they won a couple of minors 3 or 4 years ago, however it was. They're so natural on the ball, left foot, right foot, and that's a fair, it's a fair statement from Fenagh, regardless of how they go on next year. I know we're all saying they can go deep in the championship, and they can. It'll take them a couple of years, but you're looking through the team there. From I'd say from 5 up, they can all kick with both feet nearly, and right, that should be a given, but it's not, and tricky forwards like you hold Sean Smithers, you might Cormac Lomax, you Michael Murphy, Jack Tracy probably quite enough got a point, I think, in play, did he? Still
on the score from quite, but he was involved in a lot of scores.
If that's what you go by, but like the two Bradleys, like Keegan Bradley and Dylan Bradley, were just
like Joe. We spoke about in the comments
between them, I think, from play.
There was. I have it here. So 2-3 for Dylan and 1-2 for Keegan. And while Dylan got a goal, I think in the semi-final, you're probably still looking on final day as him maybe not being the lad that's going to, be the star candidate as such. Keegan Bradley was absolutely phenomenal. And I want to wish him the best as well, because he had 2 feet knocked out coming near the end of the game for an incident off the ball, which wasn't nice. But anyway, hope that gets sorted fairly soon. I think what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 different scorers. Like that's phenomenal in any county final. The versatility, Joe, we spoke about it previously, of the Fenagh lads. Like Keegan Bradley played a game for the county at full back. He can play full back, midfield, centre back. Jamie McKay plays a centre back generally, but he was back in doing a job at full back. Can play midfield. Pádraig Kynes can play anywhere really from 5 up to 15. He'd probably do a job for you at full back as well if you asked him. Sean Smithers, anywhere in around, anywhere you want them. Cormac Lomax's probably the same. Michael, like, they're a serious side. And Steve, you said it the other day, they're probably the best equipped intermediate side you've ever seen to go up and play senior football. Do you still stand by that?
Since the blow was in 1997.
Yeah.
So Fenagh are going to win Leinster Senior, Stevie, are they?
No. Well, look, the age profile, the Blows was younger, I'd say. At that time, they were like...
It's a serious Fenagh side, lads. I know, I'm only joking there, right? But it is a serious Fenagh side. They can have an impact, like.
Oh, they'll stay up. Fenagh
will be... Sorry, Brian.
Work away.
The championship that time was, how many teams were in it? Was it 10? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What year?
Sure, look, like, I don't know in the late 90s, but sure, it was 12 until 2013.
The Blows got to the semi-final in 90... They won the intermediate in 97, got beaten in the semi-final by Rathvilly in 98. And they won the next 3, I think. Probably a bit more meat on the bones of the Blows lads that time than there is in the Fenagh lads at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how they go on. But, and like, Naomh Eoin for 25 minutes of that game were giving every bit as good as they got. I know there's 8 points to 5 that couple of either side of half time, like the goal. Like, Andy O'Brien felt sorry for him, and in fairness to him, he made 2 or 3 cracking saves after, and like the goal after half time. It reminded me slightly of Carlo Westmeath in the John McDonough above in Crow Park. A goal stroke at half time, a goal after half time, and it's game put to bed. And and they kicked some great scores. Like Ross Smithers kicked 2 or 3 points there, cracking points.
They had a great. I think there was probably was there 15 different scorers in the match, Kevin? Would I be right in saying that? 14?
16.
16. Some spread the scores, isn't it?
That's unbelievable stuff. Like, and all their scores, bar in the first half, I think all their scores might have come from play. I'm up the correction on that.
Yeah. It's unbelievable spread of scores. Like to have that many in a
And Joe, Stevie's touched on a good point here. So I think 3 minutes into stoppage time, there was 4 points in it.
Yeah.
And was it 8 or 9 at half time? All of us left.
Yeah, we got a goal. We got a goal in a pint. I think we got a goal in a pint just at the end, or goal in 2 pints. A goal in a pint. I'm trying to remember. Andy Bryan was very unlucky with the first goal coming out, like, and just kind of, I think maybe in 2 minds, and then Keegan Bradley rolled it into the net. But I think when Michael were chasing a big lead like that, I think we were always going to be favourites because we would catch him on the bounce. I thought it was just a complete performance. I think you mentioned there as well. I think the age profile is good. I think our we have plenty of pace on both sides of the pitch. Going up to senior next year, I know. Look, the boys they're still celebrating and say, but going up to senior next year, you'd probably imagine that they might maybe defensively try to tighten it up a little bit. But saying that, offensively, I think they'll give any set of backs in Carlow a game next year. I just think they have that, and they kind of have a cavalier approach in some ways, which is refreshing. They do play a lovely brand of football. But like what Brian was saying there about bringing lads through, like that's the work of, again, management at minor level. Particularly, I don't like picking out people, but PJ Byrne very instrumental in the development of probably the majority of those players. Murish Brick as well, going back further, but particularly PJ Byrne and how he kind of molded them to 2 minor winning teams. For us, for Fenagh, it's a big thing, because we wouldn't have had that success. So. But they are. I think the one good thing that we're not talking about, which is great, is Sean Murphy, because normally when we talk about Fenagh, the first thing is if Sean Murphy has a big game, can Sean Murphy do this? Can Sean Murphy do that? Sean is now, which is great, is now just a member of the Fenagh team. He is special. He has been special. He always will be special in Fenagh in terms of his exploits with Carlo and everything, and how he how he showed example to lads. But on Saturday, probably even without Sean Murphy, we probably would have had enough in the tank. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's a good sign for the club that we've leaders everywhere across the pitch. I thought lads like his cousin, I thought was absolutely exceptional on Saturday, Pádraig Hines. I really thought he was exceptional from at wing back. Just his driving runs, and I think that bodes well for Fenagh. It wasn't kind of a one man kind of got them over the line sort of thing. I was up in Kildare at the weekend. Ballyteigue won the intermediate. Beckcastledermot. It was all about Jimmy Hyland. You know what I mean? Jimmy Hyland was literally unmarkable, a one man band nearly in some ways. And we would have had that tag sometimes in Fenagh maybe with Sean, and a lot of weight put in his shoulders, and a lot of maybe a lot of weight put in his shoulders and a lot of expectation. And now he has plenty of other lads around him who are leaders and bringing Fenagh on. And that was a very pleasing thing to see. Do you know what I mean? From a Fenagh point of view, a win is a win is a win. But I think in how we won and the manner of how other players stood up, I think was really pleasing. As a biased Fenagh man, I thought it was brilliant to see.
I think they'll have a good crack at Leinster as well. I think they'll have a right good crack at it. I actually forgot the run that they had the last time they won. That was a serious run. They got the semi-final and they're better equipped now. But anyway, Joe,
I'd say they'll have a right crack at the Foundry on Saturday night, the way they're going still.
Will you join them, no?
No, thankfully. Them days are over, lad.
Okay, we're going to move on to the junior final, right? So this was an absolute arm wrestle. There's no other way of putting it. Leighlinbridge, I have to give them great credit. It sounds like I'm being completely biased, but nobody gave them a prayer in this final. Clonmore, I don't know if there's bookmakers odds, they'd be something crazy anyway. They'd beaten them, I think it was like 3-15 to 8 points in the group stages. They bet them in the semi-final of a league. They'd kicked the absolute stones out of them down in Ballinabolly. And in the space of a week, not to suggest that Leighlinbridge weren't working on a game plan like this throughout the year, but what they did in the space of a week and how they implemented it was phenomenal. They really, really frustrated Clonmore. Having said that, right, the 15-minute period after half-time, Clonmore should have had Leighlinbridge put away, plain and simple. Cian Kavanagh made absolutely fantastic saves. Great credit to Cian Kavanagh, right? But really and truly, Clonmore should have put some of those away, plain and simple. It's a funny one. It was like a game of who could let each other out of jail the quickest, right? So Clonmore missed all those chances. Leighlinbridge, to their credit, recognised they're still in the game and have a serious chance. It's 6-3. Leighlinbridge goes 7-6 up. So they get 4 of the last 5 scores. And it's deep in stoppage time. Fico too, Jesus. The game is just up at 6 apiece. He sells 2 hot dogs for the price of 1 and flicks one over the bar. And Clonmore then launched an attack down the far side. There's probably a minute or two of play in between here somewhere. And Leighlinbridge do everything right, I think. They get men back. They stick tight on Oisin Doyle. They stick tight on Shane McGrath. I know pops Billy Lauder, the wing back for Clonmore, and pops an absolute beauty to level the game. Yeah. So I was never as tired after a match, to be honest with you, Joe.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was an enjoyable game, even though it was low scoring. It was enjoyable enough. I think you summed it up there, Kevin. I think it's 6-3. I think secretly the two of us probably said there's no way back. Leichlin are going to have to chase this. That 15 minutes, I think there was a different gear in Clonmore. I think they were very tentative in the first half. That 15 minutes, I don't think, right, they got scores, but they didn't put the game to bed, and we always felt then that Leichlin were in the game. There was some fine performances. Shane McGrath there, I think, what did he kick? He kicked
4 points, 2 for
4 points, yeah, which were key scores. He got on the ball a fierce lot. There was a lot of impressive performances as well from Leighlinbridge. And you have to credit Clonmore for the manner, the way that last score. You were dead right. The patience they had. I was wondering were they going to run out of time in terms of getting that. Remember, I said they're going to run out of time here, and your man pops up the wing back and it just creeps over the crossbar. It's going to be a big battle in the replay. Is it fixed for this?
Yeah, so Saturday at 6:00, and the Junior C final is on before at 4:00. That's Clonmore as well, up against the Blues. And we'll give a shout out actually. Your combo Leinster medal winners. Mark Carpenter playing full forward, Barry English playing centre back for Blues Junior C team. Our good friend Paul Byrne, I think, will be featuring that Junior C final for Clonmore too. So that's going to be an interesting one. Look, you mentioned a couple of individuals, Joe, like, and we said it on the commentary. We covered a lot, I suppose, in the commentary. But James Whelan of Clonmore, I thought was fantastic cornerback. Yeah. And I've made this point several times. It's amazing how good you can look by just doing the simple things right over and over again. Right? Yeah. You don't have to be doing flamboyant stuff the whole time. Just keep doing the simple things. He was definitely a standout for me. You know, you mentioned Shane McGrath. Leighlinbridge were cute. The same lad wasn't fouling him the whole time, but they were fouling him outside the 45 quite a lot. Not
PJ Hockney. No, PJ Hockney did very well. You're on about cornerbacks attacking. I thought PJ Hockney, for me, he carried a first loud ball for a cornerback for Leighlin. I thought he was excellent. When you're mentioning players, like, I think for Leighlinbridge, they'll probably need to get more offensively. I think and we mentioned maybe in our WhatsApp group there, I think getting Aidan Ellis on the ball. When he got on the ball, he looked dangerous. He had a goal chance. I remember got a little deflection. Conor McGrath got a hand to it. Remember, he was looking, in fairness, it was a great idea. He got in a little bit to do. And rather than drilling it low through a crowd, he actually went to chip. The keeper came out and he went to try to put it over him. And McGrath got a hand to it and put it out for a 45. But he needs to be, probably for Leighlinbridge to get over the line and push on. They probably need to get more ball into his hands, whatever way they do it, or maybe to allow him come out a little bit. Because when he got on the ball, he was very positive and he's very dangerous. But they probably need more of him to get across the line. And
Clonmore need more of Oisin Doyle. It's mad. Like, Oisin didn't get a score the other day, and it brings back a crucial thing that we forgot to mention here actually. And I said to you at the time on the commentary, Oisin got a black card in the 8th minute. Leighlinbridge only got a point in that 10-minute period. Yeah. Like, one of Clonmore's best forwards, a marquee man throughout the year, is off the field. You have an extra man, and they probably didn't make it count. No. From Clonmore's point of view, simple enough, their conversion rate has to improve because a lot of the time, sometimes they were taking the wrong option, but a lot of the time it was just poor execution from the right position. I think from Leighlinbridge's perspective, I think getting the ball from A to B a bit quicker is the key to it. I think they set up very well back there, and we saw this with Carlow, of course. It took them another season to try and work on getting the ball from A to B. If they can figure out that in a week and move the ball literally like a gazelle down the far side, then, that's big. The worry for me, and I hope it's just one of those things, right? It always happens when you have this underdogs and huge favourites tag. When the underdogs don't win the first day, you just have that little bit of a worry going into second day too. And I hope it doesn't play out that way, obviously, for obvious reasons. But that is a worry to an extent.
A lot of it's about homework, and like Raffili replaying 2010 O'Loughlin, replaying 17 Aerogue and 14. I'm sorry, 2013, and probably were the favourites going in. But the point I want to make is that the team that does the most amount of homework during the week, I think, are usually the ones that will come out on top because, and to follow on from your point, Kev, like Clonmore being the favourites, there was a lot of pressure on that performance that Leighlinbridge produced and that clever game management. Like, that is the kind of thing that you would fear that a team might only be able to produce once, and they pulled a rabbit out of the hat, if you like. How do you do that 2 weeks in a row? How do you do 2 games in a row when the opposition now know what your strengths are or what your big secret was? And there's certainly a feeling that Clonmore might have more to learn than Leighlinbridge have, and that's not to say that Leighlinbridge, like, they certainly had the footballers, like between Lillis, what's the other chap's name in the? You mentioned him a minute ago.
Liam Brennan.
Liam Brennan. Like, they have the footballers to do it. But you would, like what you're saying, you would just have a fear that there might be more there for Clonmore to learn from.
You'd be thinking if the tempo of the game is high, Kevin, like the way Clonmore raised it in that first 15 minutes, second half. If they play a high tempo game, it's and their conversion rate is a little bit better. It's they probably still have to be favourites, but they didn't do it the last day in terms of conversion and getting the scores when they were on top. And but I think they have that in their locker. I think when they raised the game, they put Leighlinbridge under far more pressure. When they were trying to pick holes kind of a slow pace. Leighlinbridge were very comfortable at that, so it will be interesting to see how this out their stall early doors. All right, yeah.
Yep. I suppose
Just looking at the
lots
age
of
profile, the Leichlin game there,
passing as well.
there must be 10 or 12 of them. There's 10 or 12 of them under 23. It's the Leichlin team, Leighlinbridge team. That was a big day out last week. I mean, it's a county final of any grade. Is you don't know if you're in it, how you're going to come over, and a lot of scores I've seen were straight down the middle. A lot of the best scores, I think it was 14 scores, and like Shane McGrath kicked a couple of pop-up points there. Ed Nillis is free out in the wing, but the majority of scores look to be coming down the middle. Where I thought they were, which is funny. You'd be usually saying that you gave a space more out in the wing, and it's how Jeffrey Dorn. Another day that ball kind of broke down back off was it Anthony Keely McDonald blocked it on the line, and it's if Jeffrey had been back out another foot, it was buried in the top corner and locked them were 2 points up or 3 points up. A different game. The other end, King Cavan was very good. I had two great ones. He can up and kick a 45.
What is wrong with Stevie's connection tonight? Jesus Christ almighty, that dog is shitting himself up there. I thought you got an upgrade. What the hell, man? Must have been sold a football player. You sound like
how many dodgy boxes have you run, lad? Or are you mining for Bitcoin or something?
Just began the whole
The boys are having a lot of gaming or something, are they? Yeah.
Fucking running Google off it or something.
Jenny Mac, this is the third season in a row. The band with Bambrick, huh? Band with Bambrick. Okay, right. hopefully keeps back into play. Sorry, Stevie. So anyway, we give you the pictures. That's the story. We'll see what the crack is next again. We're coming to Camogie in a little while, so we're going to preview that. The finals are on Sunday in West Cullen Park. Well, we've come to the headache, lads, and that was the team of the year. So unlike the hurling, we probably missed a few matches at different stages combined, but between the whole lot of us, we saw every game. So that's why we bashed heads and come up with one collective team. And as always, everyone is not going to agree with everything, no more so than ourselves. A 5-minute phone call to pick it earlier turned into an hour and 5 minutes of a phone call in the end. So we'll go down through it. Our team of the year, left wing back, football team of the year. So in goal, I'll run down through first, and then we'll go back through the lines, right? So in goal is Cottle Gaffney. Full back line, Barry John Malloy, Richard Cody, Jonah Dunn. Half back line, Danny Moran, Kevin McDonald, Kieran Moran. Middle of the field, Brendan Murphy, Jason Kane. Half forward line, Diarmuid Walsh, Shane O'Neill, Brandon Kelly. Full forward line, Conor Crowley, Jamie Kenny, Danny Doyle. That's our team of the year. We'll start with I suppose, Gaffney good and solid for the most part. There was no, I don't mean it's disrespectful to Gaffney, right? But in general, there was no big mad, clear standout keeper. But if you go down through the stats and that, kickouts and all were pretty decent. Didn't concede too many goals. Good on the ball, steady on the ball. So Cottle Gaffney's in the goal. The headache for us, really, a lot of it was the full back line, funnily enough. So, as we said, Barry John Malloy, Richie Cody, and Jonah Dunn. Now, by hook or by crook, there's one lad here, and we won't mention who it was having Barry John Malloy in the team. And there's only one of us related to him. So you can go figure it out for yourself. But all joking aside, Brian, your logic was that Barry John Malloy only conceded 1 point from playoff a direct opponent throughout the championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
stand over there. It is, and I know I made the point earlier that he's been Mr. Consistent for 12 years, and in fairness, your point back was, well, we have to talk about the players of this year, and he's a crucial player for Philly, and our best defender, and also one of our best lads to bring a ball forward as well, and Mr. Consistency, and you rarely see him getting a card. You rarely see him getting the ball move forward from outwriting. He just does what's expected of him, and he's one of our most important players and has been for a long time. And he had another fantastic year. He actually missed the first game through work against O'Loughlin, but he was been, and I know there'll be people probably tearing their hair out saying, "But sure, Rafa leaked goals for 3 games in a row," but they would have leaked more if it wasn't for Barry John. And family or not, he has to be on that team as far as I'd be concerned.
Mm-hmm. We're going to come to full back, and it's Richard Cody. And in general, we'll actually give the few close contenders. Stephen Riley was a mention for full back, and a good strong mention. Other cornerbacks, Cathal Kelly, a lad for a lad that hasn't played a whole lot of football over the last few years, stuck to his task gamely for Éire Óg. Every day out this year, very good. Gavin Healy, a known forward in defence, pretty good year as well. That's just a few that we had in the mix there earlier.
Gavin Healy scored a hat-trick in a minor final for Pal 5 years ago, and now he's a sticky cornerback, and I've no doubt at some stage will be in a team of the year because he's a revelation in there,
He is, in fairness. So, Joe, Richard Cody was selection of fullback. Explain why.
Well, look, I suppose, right, again, with the argument about if you go statistically on what did his man score, what didn't happen or whatever, but we probably felt that his overall contribution to the Rangers defence, his organisation, his leadership qualities, his team play, like we talked about him coming out with ball there today, getting hands in and so on. He was excellent. I think I actually said it when we were talking about the football. I think he's had a fantastic year hurling and football. I think he's been one of the leading lights of Rangers, both hurling and football this year. Very steady, calm on the ball. Even I suppose the first day, the group match against Pal, Rangers were shorn of a lot of lads. Very disciplined, right to the final whistle, organising, cajoling, everything else. Just brings a huge amount of experience to it, but also a huge amount of football and ability as well. So I suppose he was on my mind anyway for both teams. His overall contribution to the overall team, the overall thing, I think is immense.
Another lad in the mix here was Conor Ryan actually as well, for Tinryland, who had a very good year too, in fairness. I think that change yesterday, in fairness, was probably more tactical at half time. Like it was to inject a bit of pace in. So another shout out there for him. So in the other corner, Jonah Dunn. Now I'll take up the mantle on this one because yes, at times yesterday was probably a little bit difficult for him with Conor Crowley got man of the match, but throughout the course of the championship, and this is what we're always talking about, that's what it's judged upon. He stuck gamely to nearly every man marking task that he was given, and they weren't easy ones. No more so than Chris Dolan, is one that springs to mind straight away in the semi-final. He did ever so well on him. Wore 6, but was always generally taking up a man marking role. So he's our selection at number 4. I go on to the half back line as if we're all happy. So this was a bit easier than the full back line. Danny Moore in a 5. Stevie, do you want to take it up?
Yeah, sure. Danny Moore, a couple of points every game, a couple of vital match winning points against Éire Óg there, and one then to last week, or Kieran Moore come back in the team, like we said at the start of the year. This lad's like a new signing for, it's a marquee signing if you send
I said
forward.
Danny, but sure, go on and talk about
Yeah,
Kieran if you want.
Yeah, we're going to do the half back line here. I have the half back line now.
He wants the whole half back line, right? Take it. Go on, take it.
Before the Wi-Fi fails. Like Kieran Moore was centre forward. You're talking about Gavin Healy. Gavin Healy, cornerback, as Brian said, win the minor on his own early 1 year. Kieran Moore was the key man in the last 2 Pal county final wins. I thought playing centre forward was the key for Carlo, bringing him back wing back. Thor looking to buy, he's a master stroke doing that. And Kevin McDonald in the middle. In 2 or 3 of the games, he was totally outstanding, I thought, this year. Same bit along the lines of Jonah Dunn there. He said man marking, not as in a man marking position, but he totally committed as in a back's back. His job was to mark, probably I wouldn't say a man, but an area. But the ball dropped in there. I thought he blew me away. How good he was in a couple of games, football wise as well. Like he carried a lot of balls forward as well. So that's it. I'm out.
Come on, Stevie. Moving to midfield then. Brian, I'll let you take up the mantle of Brendan Murphy. And again, this is, I'm not just saying it to Brian because of a Rathvilly thing or kind of a family thing or whatever, but he was fantastic this year. It was unanimous to have him in the team, and a few words on it there.
Yeah, similar to what Joe was saying about Sean Murphy and Fenagh. Brendan, probably the first name that comes to everyone's mind when you think Rathvilly, and he was outstanding for us this year again. Just look back at the semi-final, there was times where Robbie is picking, we're under a bit of pressure and Robbie's picking him out, and there's 2 and 3 lads around him, and he's climbing highest above them all, pulling balls out of the sky. He's a dynamic runner. He kicks unbelievable long range points, and in the semi-final in particular, there was one stage where he was we had 10, 12 lads back, and he was at the front of the line, and you could see him like frantically trying to get to the man on the ball, chasing, and like at 33 it gets harder to do that, but that's how much it meant to him, and he was doing his best to get Rathvilly into another final, but he was superb for us. And then Jason probably speaks for himself as well. Like, he's midfielders don't tend to be that quick to my mind. Usually they're big tall fellas. Jason Kane is rapid. He's absolutely, and he's deadly accurate. But has an unusual kind of style for kicking, but on his day, like practically unmarkable, and has been doing it a year in, year out now for Pal. So like that midfield would probably start on every single senior team in Carlow, bar none, if those 2 boys were on the same team. So probably a midfield that maybe picked itself. Obviously, there's other lads that could play it every year. The likes of the Sean Gannons of this world, and obviously your man from Tinryland had Barry Power had a great year for Tinryland. Like, after being junior a couple of years ago, placed here now, had a great year midfield. But I think, in fairness, Brendan and Jason are deserving places in that team of the year.
Yeah. They might make the Fenagh midfield, but look.
Dermot Byrne in the mix there as well in the middle.
Oh, definitely.
I'm going to go through the half forward line, and Joe, I'll leave you with the full forward line there. So Dermot Walsh, Shane O'Neill, Brandon Kelly. Dermot Walsh, 3 points in play yesterday. Consistent performer throughout the championship for Tinryland. Key player. Took up the free taking mantle. A couple probably went a bit wayward on him yesterday, but throughout the course of the championship, really, really solid year. Shane O'Neill, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant this year. Got myself into really good shape. Pulled the strings for Palatine at centre forward. Brandon Kelly, lit up the championship. Absolutely lit up the championship with his goal scoring touch, his pace, his agility. We're going to be hearing lots about this guy for a long, long time. So full forward line then, Joe. It was Conor Crowley, Jamie Kenny, Danny Doyle.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, look, Conor Crowley, has been a star. He had a fantastic year as well for Carlow. He's been in terms of like, as a county player, we would have seen him club level. He brings that level every game. His pace, his work rate. Got a couple of points against Rathvilly when they were needed as well from play. He, as Stevie mentioned in one of the podcasts, give it into him sort of anyway, and he'll fight for it. Really, I suppose, is a real positive player. When he gets the ball up, it's heads up for a goal. Do you know what I mean? And I think he gives a brilliant threat. Jamie Kenny, look, he's got key scores in every game. He's used to the ball, his distribution. Even yesterday, scrappy ball going in, winning it. The right place, the right time. He is a big game player, great mentality, good work rate as well. Super. Danny Doyle as well. Well, look, again, he kicked some vital scores for Bagenstown this year when they were needed. Terrific footballer. I think, Stevie, what did you say in terms of what he scores? You said, what did he get this year, championship-wise? And you totted it up earlier on, no?
Clatter of goals, isn't it?
Clatter of goals, but I can't remember what was it. Stevie's frozen, is he? He's either frozen in thought or he's frozen.
And whoever to say this is Manchester United. It's definitely that deadpan mode, but
yeah. So I think they're
speechless.
He's speechless, yeah.
So
he had the stat on him, but look, I think the full forward line, if you had that at any level, it's a fairly lethal full forward line. They know where the goals are, as I say.
While Stevie is looking up the stat, Brian came up with a big stat today. I think he was reliably informed of this anyway. And we're open to correction on it, but I think he's bang on with it. Only one player that featured in the senior championship final yesterday between Palatine and Tinryland. Play county football this year. Or start on the Cara team. Is that right?
Yeah, and someone said that to me in the grounds yesterday. Was it Mick Yo? Someone said it to me, and I looked at the program going, there's no, and obviously there's some lads who have retired in the last year or so, so that scares it a bit, but
still though, lads.
Of the 60 players listed on the two panels, or there just about 60 players, one county player, so it's that has surely to God, hopefully that has to change now, because I think every Carlow player wants to see the likes of the Shane O'Neills of this world. I think there's a chap who deserves a shout out as well, Brian McMahon. First year playing senior football.
Joshua Egan, another
Josh
one.
Egan, yeah. And this is hardly on in Pal House. I wouldn't say they're watching it live, but like I'd say if the word to be thrown points at the screen, how is a lot more Pal lads on it? But
well, there's 5 or 6 of them there, so.
Oh, and listen, I think there should be more affiliate lads on it, but that's the nature of the thing. But are we allowed to pick a few subs?
David Reid had a very good year too, actually. Just looking back to the program, you know what I mean. We're after giving a few shout outs. I think we could pick a few subs or a sub of the year, but I'm just going to move it on because we're an hour and 16 minutes into the stream. We have the player of the year to get to. So this was nailed on in our eyes anyway. There was no real debate on it. You know, a player who has turned up in every county final and played well, has turned up in an All-Ireland schools final for the CBS and played well, got himself into incredible shape this year, pulled the strings for Palatine, took the game by the scruff of the neck yesterday. Yes, indeed. Your left wing back, footballer of the year, is Shane O'Neill of Palatine. So congratulations to Shane O'Neill. Well, unbelievable year. Brian, you work. Go on, Joe, sorry.
Yeah, no, top scorer, Kevin, and I hope you won't mind me saying he was working with us, I think it's 2 years ago during the pandemic, and he'll admit himself he wasn't in good shape. He was in college enjoying the good life. And we actually started back running and on the Barrow track, 6 of us, and he was doing it. And I'm not saying that kick-started him, but I'd say, I don't know, but he changed his whole physical makeup, like it was just a different gravy. But he's football this year.
There's your exclusive. Joe Nolan got Shane O'Neill fit
for
the championship. Absolutely.
Joe Nolan, Joe Nolan boot camp, right?
Here's Brian taking the credit for all the players that were part of his minor panel in 15 playing.
Yeah. Give me one player.
Here's Joe praising Shane O'Neill.
Yeah.
You know,
so look, but anyway, I just think on it, like he's a great chap. He's he's really
taking praise for Shane O'Neill. Sorry.
No. But you look at his game this year. You mentioned there the county final. He kicks his frees. He kicks his points from play. He kicks the killer passes. And you look at it, right. He was the last man there. He was on Shane Redmond, right? He didn't stop him scoring the goal, but he's challenging there to try not to concede. He was everywhere yesterday, and I think in all the matches, I think he played that game. He's probably like a quarterback. If you look at his positioning, he absolutely can kill teams with a pass. He's so accurate on the ball. And I'd say if you looked at his stats in terms of giving away, in terms of possession, either from kick passes or even hand passes or anything at all, I'd say it's very minimum. So I think a worthy winner.
Yeah, just to say, I was involved with that minor panel for a couple of years, and as they used to tell me, the only reason I was involved was to give Draphilly boys lifts down. It's the only reason I was asked. Yeah, so one of the Tinryland lads, I think, said to me one night, we're coming home from Westmead after a match, and someone let her roar and said, "You're only here to bring Draphilly boys." And good crack. As long as I'm involved. No, Shane is like gentleman. The first time I ever met Shane was he used to do the scoreboard in Dr. Cullen Park, and we were doing the scoops at the time, and you'd be on your own in the press box, and Shane was there doing the scoreboard, and you'd be running out of stuff to say, so you just bring Shane in to talk, and he was great. But he was captain of the CBS team, he was captain of the Carlow minor team, and there was a little bit of conflict that year because the CBS were going so well, and it looked like the Carlow minors were going to go well, and he obviously had a huge role to play on both teams, and he handled that pressure so well. He's really well grounded, a wonderful left foot. The pass for the goal to Hulton in Croke Park that time was, to this day, one of the best passes I ever seen. And when the point he got yesterday, outside left, and it was 30 seconds later, and an absolute laser beam of a pass into Crowley. He's a class act. But
Hey, he tried to video call me on Facebook at 20 to 4 earlier. and then he wrote underneath and he said, surely we'll get a mention tonight. There you go, Shane. I can't really do any more than that, pal. So yeah, that's the Jack and Rory. Lads, any last thoughts on the football? Yourself and Steve are going to preview the Camogie Finals. Any observations in general, Joe or Brian?
I'd love to see the football being played first next year. I don't know, is hurling better suited to the harder ground? As I'm sure that's what hurlers will argue, but it'd be great to see football being played a little bit. And of course, yesterday's weather was absolutely fantastic, so rubbish is your argument. But I just think it'd be nice to see the football being played earlier, and maybe a bit of a tilt on the structure as well.
I think I know they're talking about going back 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. I think there's a lot of vibes about that. I don't know. I think the one and the other is good. I think it's better for, I know, speaking to certain clubs, say, I know it's working better. Like would Munster Rangers, would St Mullins, have, would there be the same, won't say interest, but would there be the same ability to put their eggs in the different baskets at one time? In hurling, the flip side maybe, where you have clubs who are, say, our own club, even Ballinkillen, we've Kildavin, Fenagh lads, we Naomh have a collection of clubs, Carlowtown have a collection of clubs. I think the standalone is working better for them at the minute in terms of one code on, one code off. That'd be one thing on that. My other thing is just in terms of how fickle football can be. You mentioned the Blues. Fenagh going up senior this weekend. Our last game, Fenagh played, and I played in it, unfortunately, in McGrath Park, that we played in senior championship was against the Blues. They put 5 goals past me. I think they put another 1 or 2 past Packy Hughes in the second half. Dion Wall played in it. He must have been about 14, I'd say. He to start because we only had 15 players. We didn't actually play a rogue in the last game of the group, and we didn't even bother with a relegation playoff. We went straight down, and we tumbled again down to junior. And it's just amazing this week. We're back up senior. There's a bit of vibrancy about us. Looking at, the Blues have gone back down to junior. I was seeing a little bit of maybe a little bit of niggle and negativity about them, and I just reminded them about the way clubs can go, like that. Things are fickle, you know what I mean, and not to be so hard, on themselves in terms of our clubs, like, you know what I mean. What happens, and some teams are tumbling down, or not tumbling down, but they've taken the drop down, and it's not the end of the world. You just rebuild and you go again, as we did in kind of Fenagh, and that's the nature of sport, and that's what I take from the football championship. I just thought it was the week that was in it was just reminded me of where we were as a club, Fenagh, and how your fortunes can up and down, as I say, in the space of whatever 18 years, like, or whatever,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Loughlinbridge never got relegated out of intermediate, but they're playing junior A football for the last 10 years. There's a statistic for you.
Because of the restructure.
Because of the restructure, yeah. There was a Clonmore statistic given to me during the week as well, and I can't really think what it was now, but it was something mad with both sides. Look, Joe, Brian, thanks a million. Really appreciate the contributions that the boys have made. Can't thank you enough, to be honest with you. It's been really good fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, Kev.
And just a quick one last thing, I just remembered. My heart sank for Danny Moran yesterday. And I just remembered he played in this final in 2011. So 2 county finals, 11 years apart. Probably played the football of his life this year. Had Tinryland got over the line yesterday. Maybe you're looking at Danny Moran as a shout for player of the year. But what made me think of it was Joe saying about how I think fickle football can be. Like, you play in a county final in 2011, you think we could get with a good young team here, or we might push on a bit, and you have to wait 11 years to get back to a final. It's a cruel world sometimes, like. But yeah, just to mention that.
Just
thanks for having me for the year.
Two quick things there before I finish up the football. The Loughlin ladies, the girls there that won the under 14, under 16, they're lately they're in the minor final. I don't know how that's going to be fixed now with the club championships, but going well. It's been a Kerry Tinryland again under battle with them two clubs. I want to mention Pat Curran. Pat had a serious operation a couple of weeks ago. Anyone knows Pat Curran, probably the most wittiest man in O'Loughlin, great character, being chairman, treasurer, secretary of the club. Just an absolute all-round brilliant man, and just wish him well. I hope he's on the road to recovery. He when I was secretary back freaking just 30 years ago now, like the amount of work the man put into the club, many years, and like anyone that knows him, just pure character, one liner. He cut into with a one liner, and he transported more young lads to matches down the years, junior matches. He'd actually go over his way to be a junior selector and not be anywhere near the senior team for being a selector. And he was junior selector. We played Fenagh in 2007 final, I think it was. I had the privilege of Buddha Hickey marking me that day. Buddha got the nod anyway, the one that day well, but I just shout out the Pat there. I meant to say there a couple of weeks or last week, what I don't know, Kevin, you know him, you're a little bit further down the road, but he's just the heart and soul of any club. And I said them 3 roles he's filled in different times back when things were different as a secretary and a treasurer and a chairman. They weren't as handy as they are now or I would say they're handy now to do, but I think pass on best wishes to Pat, and hopefully he'll be at the dinner dance in October bank holiday weekend.
Yep. Get with us soon, Pat. Joe, Brian, thanks a million.
Thanks very much, lads.
Much appreciated. So we're going to turn our attention to the Camogie Finals, which are on Sunday in Netwatch Cullen Park. So 1 o'clock, the junior finals, these Burn Rangers up against Manchester Rangers. And then at 3 o'clock, you have Michael up against Naomh Eoin. So we're gone fairly used to seeing Michael and Naomh Eoin at this stage in Camogie Finals. I don't know how many in a row Michael are going for now. You probably know offhand, but I've lost count. It's a serious tally anyway, whatever it is, right? And Naomh Eoin are big underdogs coming into this. Now, they would have taken a little bit of hope. We were at the group game between these two, Stevie, down at the Super Bowl. Was it?
I think 23. I stand to be corrected.
Okay, right. Okay. Smash it. But anyway.
Team in Waterford on 41 there. Yes, Ballymacarbery won their 41st ladies football title in a row.
That is just crazy. Crazy stuff. But we're back. We were down the Super Bowl. Michael had that game won that night, and Naomh Eoin pulled out of the bag and got 2 goals and rescued a draw in the end. I actually went home thinking they'd lost by a point or two, but you told me about 20 minutes later that ended up a draw or whatever. So again, Michael big favourites. Naomh Eoin fancying themselves in this one though as well. It's going to be a ding donger.
Yeah, and the fact it's in Netwatch Cullen Park.
That line is after dropping out on Stevie. The connection has just been dodgy on it tonight. So I'll preview the games very quickly just before we finish up. So yeah, 3 o'clock start, as I said, Michael, Naomh Eoin. It will be a ding dong game. Some serious operators on both sides. As she tends to do in a lot of finals, it probably wouldn't be unusual to see Ciara Quirk scoring a goal for Michael. She tends to cope with that little bit of magic. On the Naomh Eoin side, this year Emma Brennan and Rachel Sire are both playing in the forwards, a lot of time in around the half-forward line. So it has the recipe to be a very exciting and very entertaining senior Camogie final. They've had great battles over the past couple of years. I was informed as well, actually, that St Ryan's were beaten in Offaly, and they were a serious powerhouse for some time, not just in Offaly, but indeed in Leinster and beyond as well. So it's all happening in terms of Camogie. As you said, the junior final at 1 o'clock pits Burn Rangers up against Mullins Rangers. So Burn Rangers very much a common team. I think they were in the final against Winnipeg last year, and Mullins Rangers the opposition this time. Looking down through Mullins Rangers side, Michelle Kelly, very good Camogie player. She's there in the half-back line. A lot of young Burn Rangers players, as I said. Saw Fiona Byrne's name the other day as well on the Mullins Rangers panel. I think she came on as a sub and got a point or two. So 2 cracking finals in store. Great to see the finals in Netwatch Cullen Park as well. As you mentioned, 1 o'clock is the junior Burn Rangers, Mullins Rangers, and the seniors at 3, Michael and native breed. So I just want to say thanks to Stevie as well for his contribution towards the left wing back this year. He's missed very few apart from work, of course, where you get caught the occasional time after 9 o'clock. So thanks to Stevie, thanks to Joe, thanks to Brian. I want to say thanks to the listeners, the viewers, everyone that's been in touch with us regarding commentaries, regarding streams over the past number of weeks. It has been very, very enjoyable, I have to say. This, as it stands, is the last program for now anyway, until the foreseeable. We'll see what the plans are like. We'll see what the next few weeks and months throw up. But for now, this is our last episode. We want to thank the sponsors, Recovery Hub in Carlow, Precision Media Productions, Milano's Takeaway by the Sound, Seamus Bourne Electrical, your number one for floodlights, Carpenter's Bar Lounge and Restaurant, Ray Whelan Limited, the Baba's Barbershop, Fine Framers, J&J Services, Scats, Bounce and Castles. I want to give a big shout out to Brendan Joyce as well, who was on video duty for our stream in Tinryland Clubhouse last Thursday. So that's where we have to leave it. Every Monday night's been a good bit of crack, I have to say. Like everything, opinions, everyone will have their own. The team of the year is not out going to cause murder, and I'm looking forward to the tweets afterwards. If they're half as entertaining as some of the tweets going up today regarding yesterday's county final, we'll have ourselves a field day over the next couple of days. If you have enjoyed the coverage, we have a Buy Me a Coffee link there. You can support our efforts for the price of a coffee. It is not compulsory to do so. We just want to say thanks to everyone who has actually contributed towards that over the course of the championship. But it's just there if anyone wants to avail of it. But we're delighted to be bringing it to you. We feel it's a good service we provide. We enjoy providing it, and we're looking forward to pushing on and making big plans for next year as well. That's really it for this series. Thanks a million to everyone again. And until next time, take care.